That's what business rules and processes are. They're essentially eliminating opportunity costs in a business.
Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be talking about consistency and having a routine. How you can increase your real estate business in 2020. I'm Thomas Meister and this is the first episode of From Experience. Matt, you want to briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Matt Hartman. I am a broker owner of Remax Cornerstone in North Orange County, and been doing it for about 6 years. Prior to that, I had tech world experience. I was 25 or 26 when I bought the idea from a teacher for the first tech company I had. So it's been 15, almost 20 years maybe.
Jeez.
I mean, not that long between there.
He's not that old, guys.
Yeah, 15 years, yeah.
He's very seasoned. I kind of wrote down some questions. I thought that this would be interesting to kind of ask everybody a similar thing. If you were to go back in time to mentor, like, young you, really young you, like 14, 15,
14, 15? Oh,
16.
Okay. So if I really had to go back to where I think I could have made an influential difference in my life trajectory, is that what you're saying? Like,
yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. At a certain point in my life, I think it probably would be high school age or so. Maybe beginning of high school.
All right.
I think that I would have told myself, hey, you're an entrepreneur more than you're like a writer, music lover type person, like that's a cool hobby, Matt, but be entrepreneurial and stop being so questioning of establishment, because a lot of times when you're younger you start to question it around that age, like how much do these adults have it together? And I think that you're right in some ways, but you're also wrong in other ways, because what you think is you're going to have it more together at some point in your life. Yeah. And the truth is, so you're
gonna grow up and you're gonna adult, and then you're gonna have a whole nother set of problems.
Exactly. Well, but I once started a tweet from a guy that worked at a tech company. I can't remember which it was. It was a pretty prominent one. He was kind of high up, and he said like every time he's gone to different tech companies, he thinks this is going to be the one that has their stuff together, and this is the one that's going to be well run and well managed. And then it's like every time he realizes, no, like these people are just, and it's like, but that's that same, if that's the truth, then you're wrong to indict people for it, because really that's just people. We're all imperfect. Yeah. And I think that when you go to sell a company or when you go to buy a company, there's always this discomfort of the person selling that, oh my gosh, they're going to see how terrible this company is. Right. But yet this person's buying it because they think it's a great company, and they don't understand that the person buying their company, it's because they also understand we've got the same stuff going on over here. Like you think, because the imperfections in businesses, really it's about the financial on paper, but within like how successful it is, but within the business, it always feels somewhat unsuccessful. Sure. Because you're thinking, oh gosh, I got all these problems and I know about them, but from the outside, people are going, no, but look how successful you're being.
Well, kind of laying into consistency, like, and the grass is greener where you water it. Right. Stealing that from somebody, I think. Totally plagiarized. Going back to where you got hung up on a lot of decisions that you talked about. You thought that maybe the product wasn't ready or something like that, or a service or something about it wasn't ready. Yeah, essentially. And you got yourself hung up on that. Do you think that maybe what would the younger you in being more entrepreneurial benefit from? Like, how would you, I guess, coach them? If you could meet with them once a week and kind of like talk to them.
I would say start companies when you're 14. Iteration is always the key, right? Like doing things more, and so it's like, I really firmly believe, even though I believe in like, practicing, I think that game time is what's important to getting good, right? So the idea is that, right, so and the iteration of like, and I know that there's a lot of cliches about like you want to fail, and I mean I think it's like you don't always have to fail to become successful. Like,
you don't need to always make the mistakes. You don't need to put your hand in the flame every single time to know it burns.
And so, but I do think that if I was younger, I would have just had a little more time to learn some of the mistakes that are more common before I really had big stakes involved. Just having that shape your worldview as you go through high school and college, because I think as an entrepreneur you're trying to figure out how to solve problems, and I think sometimes when you're younger and you're smart, you're looking for problems. You're not trying to look to solve them, you're just looking to condemn them.
Right. You don't actually have solutions. You're just looking to. You're just always pointing out all the little things or big things that you're like, it's obvious there's a hole there. Right. But that's because you're not going to contribute to the success or the solution.
Exactly, and you use it to also sometimes excuse your own behavior as a young person, like, hey, like, why should I perform when you guys are, this and that sort of thing.
So getting distracted and focusing on other people's mistakes, so that way you don't have to focus on yourself. Right. Segueing over to the real estate industry. Right. What's some of the things, I guess, you've learned that obviously you implement right now, or that just have helped you kind of coming from that background?
Being a part of, like, the solution and thinking, how do I make this better, and how do I not let other people's shortcomings give me an excuse to not produce, right? There's a whole lot of looking around that we do in real estate, like what's going on, what's happening over here, that sort of thing.
And not being focused on just slowly making better what we already have.
Right, because the truth is, I really think that like my tech background, I think there's realtors that would be better served if they never even thought they needed tech for real estate and just kept doing what they've been doing. I see so many insecurities that have been created by technology that have actually held back people's kind of mojo in their dealing with the public, that if they just kind of made it less, like minimized it in their own mind, not publicly, like because people, if you say tech doesn't matter, like I said just now, people are going to say you're out of touch, and I get that they can't say that. In their own heads, they make it too big of a deal to where they become insecure or think that there's just some sort of tech out there that's going to solve a problem, when really just business rules can solve problems, like just policies and the way you do business.
So what are some of the things that you focus with your agents on to kind of implement at a higher level?
The main thing I try to tell agents is that they have to have a process for how they do everything, meaning with I guess everybody knows that, but people use the word systems a lot, right? Like systems.
Yeah.
And I think it's the right word to use in some ways, but really it's like, just if you think about it just as a process, it's much simpler to think about it like, what do you do when you meet a buyer for the first time, right?
Yeah, it's like a recipe.
Right, exactly. And you stick with it. If you have a process, you follow the same way. Some people are going to fit into that process, and some people are not. And people try to chase the people that are not sometimes. And it's like, you got to let those people go. Some agents, like, they'll wing things too much, or when they get on a phone call, they should say the same thing every single time.
But they don't.
But they don't, because they feel like they don't know if it's the right way. They're just always questioning, am I doing things the right way? So the idea is, like, you have to have a process where you do things at the same time. Open houses, every time you meet at the door, you just say the same thing.
How do you help your agents have a good process?
What I do is I say, here's my process, like we teach in the brokerage, like learn this, and then if you want to tweak it afterwards, go ahead, but tweak it after you've mastered this, because if you try to just tweak it right from the beginning, it's going to be a mess. It's kind of like, you can't make my cake without my recipe, right? So It's like, make my cake first, make it perfectly, and then if you think it needs to change, then change it by all means, but more often than not, you're going to find it just, this works. Like, you have to be intense to be successful, I believe.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, I don't mean you have to come off as intense to people, like you have to be, but I think you have to have an intensity inside of you.
You have to have a winning mindset.
That's good. Really, that's going to hold you accountable to like, hey, you know what? I came home empty-handed today. That's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Right. And
not give yourself a.
Yeah. Like, you should have other people trying to let you off the hook, not you letting I believe my wife should be going like, hey, don't worry about it, you'll be fine, versus
they're there to support you and to encourage you, but if you're doing that as well, then oh, oopsie,
if you're telling yourself, hey, it's okay, I'll get it next time,
well, then you get in the habit, and now you've got
the
worst routine ever, which is just a routine of just like letting yourself off the hook every single time you don't hit your goals, hit your numbers. Okay.
Yeah, and so and then again, there might be people who debate that, but I believe that there's an intensity in successful people, that they just hold themselves to a standard of getting results.
What's a practical thing that you give your agents or encourage them to do to just continue to build that consistency?
As far as the results part of it, like I do think, like obviously I'm a big believer in tracking things, right? Like and I know that's very hard to do for people because they don't know if they should track what happens in a CRM. Do they write it down? Do they put it in a spreadsheet?
Sure. We'll talk about that in another video, guys. That's a rabbit hole we're going to do.
Yeah, sorry. But the point is, I do believe in tracking to understand what your benchmarks are, right? So tracking, so what I mean by that is, so I play basketball. And so if my coach said, hey, I want you to get 10 rebounds today, right? Then I'd have to go get 10 rebounds. I wouldn't be able to say after the game, well, I know I only had 6, but you know what, I boxed out a lot. Or I was really, I set some nice picks, because
he would say,
right. And so that's the kind of accountability you have to hold yourself to. So if I go to an open house, I'm not saying like, I hope a lot of people come through today, right?
Right.
Like I'm
What's
saying,
the practical
I'm
things?
saying I need to get 3 people to agree to actually set an appointment with me next week or the week after to come into the office. Like that's all, and if I don't get that,
I can't tell you how many times I talk with real estate agents and I ask them like, so what do you talk about at open house? And they're like, I give them a flyer of the home, and everybody wants to act like their systems, I have the best thing ever, but everybody talks about the same things, right?
Right.
So most of the time, everybody's using the same, graphic trends, or everybody's using the same kind of analytics or market research, or, it comes down to on an individual level, how good are you? And how consistent are you being? Because you're not going to connect with everybody.
But that goes back to the intensity of the result. And when I started my tech company, it was after I was a realtor. And so I looked at the trade shows that we went to like open houses. You're trying to get people to come talk to your booth and get them over. And I used to have a rule that there was no chairs allowed at our booth. And with the rental of a booth, when you go to one of those conferences, it comes with chairs. Oh. So I would go hide the chairs because I didn't want my people sitting down, because I wanted them ready and active. And because I had that rule with my assistant and with me, we never sat down at open houses because I wanted my energy to be ready to go. I wanted to be standing up, spry, ready to go. So that's just an example of that intensity. Because if I'm at an open house, the way I say it to agents is like, if you're going to be away from your family and all the most important primetime obligations of your life, which is weekends, right? We all agree, like weekends or when birthday parties happen, when anything happens that's like family or friend oriented, it's usually on weekends because most people work during the week.
Everything competes for that. Yeah.
So you're away from them. It's like you can't come home empty-handed. You can't go, I missed the birthday party for nothing.
Right.
And I know that's
how was open house, honey? Yeah. I'm gonna give myself a little. Oh, it was good.
Right. Yeah. And so if you don't have tangible results, then it's like you've squandered the day, in my opinion. And again, I know that's intense, but that's why I think that I was successful with open houses when I was an agent, because I held myself to that level of like results that only matters. It doesn't matter how, so I've had agents tell me like, I had some really great conversations. And I'm almost thinking like, you mean like you talked some great topics about like books or movies? Like you had great conversations, or did you get business? You know what I mean? And I know that's very intense, but we are in here to make money, and I think that weekends are so precious to us, not only from business, because obviously a lot of real estate is done on weekends, but a lot of family time and friend time is on weekends too. So let me talk about routine. Okay? Because I think that what people have to understand about routine is it's about what you don't do. You only have so much time, right? So you have to focus on the essential, and I know a lot of people say this, but I think that it's like you have to break down like what you do and put it all in there. And then if it's not in there, you don't do it, right?
Right.
But a lot of people don't write down their routines or have like a real, so there's an
app.
Or
don't have a not to-do list, right?
Yes. That's what business rules and processes are. They're essentially eliminating opportunity costs in a business. You don't get to see houses with me until you sign a buyer-broker exclusivity agreement with me.
Okay.
Now, that policy is to eliminate opportunity cost. Because if I can go show homes to someone for 5 weekends, and then they end up not buying or going out and buying at an open house, or they go to new home development and sign in, and then like, hey, aren't you happy for us? We found a house, right? So if that happens, in those 5 weekends I was spending with them, had I asked them to be exclusive to me and they said no, and I lost them as a client, that's terrible, right? But I have 5 weekends now to go find someone else like them that would sign that buyer broker agreement. I have 5 open house weekends I can do, right? So the idea is that so it's not only just a routine of saying like, what do I do, but it's also the process, the policy is to say, but I don't do I'm disciplined about not doing these things unless this has already happened. So like everybody wants to be showing homes on weekends, like that's what you want to do, is show homes. Yeah. But you have to have rules to prevent the opportunity cost of wasting your time with people, because so it's like it's not only just about routines, it's about having rules for yourself. The routine, I think night turns into day, right? Like meaning what you do at night affects your morning routine.
Yep.
And so I think that's a lot of people don't understand, is like to have a good morning, you have to have a good night.
Yeah.
And so
the workday starts the night before. Who am I stealing that from? Is that
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah, but I mean, and there's a whole app called Routinist, which
there you go, guys. Routinist.
It's not the easiest app to use at first. You tell it how many hours of sleep you want to get, right? That's one of the questions. Then you say what time you have to be out the door in the morning to work or to your job, and then it figures out, and then you start putting all these things you have to do and how long they're going to take you in the morning and the night. And it basically starts your night like at 6 o'clock. It's like, okay, time to do this, because if you want to get up at this time in the morning because you have to do all these things before you leave, it calculates all that. Nice. And then it starts going through a timer of saying, okay, time to do this. So the point being is this app really helps you figure out, you've got to start this at 6. If you really want to wake up at this time and do all this before you go to work, then you're going to have to start this at night right now. Yes. Because and so because the key to getting up early in the morning is going to sleep early.
So that's it for this video. Thanks guys for watching all the way through to the end. If you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it, please leave it a like and consider subscribing. We're going to be doing more interviews like this. We're going to be interviewing some of the top real estate professionals here in Orange County, and you'll be the first to know if you subscribe and click the little notification bell, so that way you'll you can watch the video first.
Yeah.
And get all the little goodies.
All the goodies.
There you go.
The bloopers.
The bloopers? We're going to include the bloopers too, Matt. All right. Thank you so much, Matt.
Absolutely.
Guys, take care. Look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
We gotta do this again.
Don't we?
Yeah,
We can do this every week.
No, but we gotta do this again with like. I think we could do this conversation better. I think that we could.
Really?
Do this, but
No, I'm gonna show you how good this is gonna be.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna
Okay.
spend the time. I'm gonna edit it.
Okay, alright.
It's gonna be great.
Okay,
See,
good.
you're trying to make it better already.
I know that's my
See,
problem.
this is the perfect example, guys. I'm gonna include this in the video. Here Matt is trying to basically tell me we could do this better. We could do this again, right?
Yeah.
Totally including this in the video.
Yeah, thanks.